Welcome, Shiv.
Pleasure to be here.
Shivkumar Eshwaran,
Yeah.
President Roundtable India 2006-7.
Yes.
A legend in tabling.
Thank you.
And from Tamil Nadu,
Yeah.
Chennai area 2.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have you, Shiv.
Pleasure. I actually first thank Vishnu for inviting us, in a very warm manner, and really, happy to be back in the city of Coimbatore. I've seen a lot of fellowship and friendship, and I have a lot of good friends here. Happy to be here. Really thrilled to be back here.
Shiv, since you talked about Coimbatore and Area 7, any memories that come to your top of your mind?
Lot of memories in Area 7 because I have a whole lot of great friends in Area 7. Like the second year when I was part of the national board, it was Jaikumar Ramdas. So the first year was R. Dhirendra and then Jaikumar Ramdas. So Jaikumar Ramdas and I, go back a whole distance. He is one of the few presidents. I found him so meticulous, and I learned a lot from him. Of course, Elango's year, the previous year, Elango wanted me to be part of the national board, but then I was the chairman of my table. So unfortunately, I couldn't, take up that responsibility. In Elango's year, my table got the Balance Activity Award and a whole lot of awards. So these two have been a lot of good people I've known. And of course, there are others too, but then a lot of good friends, forget past president, but a lot of good friends across where, when I could just call up and they would be there.
Right. Shiv, you're from Chennai, and Chennai was the birthplace of tabling in India. With our secretariat there, our roots were grounded there. And as a president from Chennai, how was your experience when you traveled to tabling destinations across? What are the best things that you could actually share and sow when you expanded? Just want to know, because not many presidents from Chennai I have met, and this is an opportunity to understand from a very strong tabling center with very robust fundamentals. You're a president representing Roundtable India. What is it that you could take out?
So, to just give you a little, feedback, I was the 45th President of Roundtable India in the Golden Jubilee year.
Wow.
So Roundtable was, India was formed 5 years later. So, MRT1 celebrated the 50th year, and I had this good distinction of being the president on the 50th year of Roundtable. So, if you look at the presidential jewel, which obviously you have worn and worn it with pride, the first half of the jewel, you will see a lot of Chennaiites there or Madras people there.
Right.
After that, it took almost, 20 years for a guy from Chennai to don the tricolor jewel. So, there are a lot of people who came very close to it, but then, I always say, to become the president of Roundtable India is a matter of destiny. And, very few people
are fortunate
also fortunate and also very fortunate. I would call Roundtable my alma mater because I done my MBA in the US, but then what I learned managing Roundtable 42, where I come from, and Roundtable India, I have never got this sort of experience ever. Now, in tabling, when I had given birth to the 200 table, which is Mumbai 200. So we had 200 tables. Okay, of course, there were a lot of tables with a G charter and things like that. So in these 200 tables, I found one thing. When a president from Roundtable India goes to the smaller cities,
right,
you get a lot more respect. And the jewel of President Roundtable India for them means that you are a demigod.
A demigod, yes.
Yeah. So, but big cities also you get a great welcome, good hospitality.
Yeah.
But then what happens is I don't blame them. You're not given that demigod status in a big city, let's say Bangalore, Chennai, even Coimbatore. Coimbatore has had a whole lot of presidents.
Right.
So those days, of course, your years are different, but when I was president, the north of India was not so much a tabling center, and it took some time for north. In my year, there was nothing in the northeast.
Okay.
It was more, there were a lot of tables in the north. Area 8 and Area 5, if I remember the numbers right, old age. So these were the tabling centers. And in my year, we gave birth to Jaipur 191, if I remember the number right. And, so the tabling in south of India was far more popular,
Right.
far more authentic.
Right.
Because in north of India, what used to happen is sometimes tabling was considered an extension of the kitty parties. I mean, they were not very serious on the legal aspects. But south of India, of course, where tabling was born, brought up, everybody knew the whole aspects. I'll tell you a couple of great experiences I've had in tabling. One is, there was this table called Round Table Roorkela, which was inaugurated and chartered.
Right.
So, so I got a call from Zishan Ali, who's my national, extension convener, and he told me that, Shiv, I want you to inaugurate this table. I said, come on, ask my vice president.
Right.
Inauguration is not what I should do.
Yeah.
He said, no, they're very clear, and we want you to come there. I said, okay, I have a problem because on that Friday night I had it was on a Saturday evening. I said, Friday night I have an MRT 50th year celebrations. So it's impossible for me to reach Roorkela, because even if I take the flight into Bhubaneswar the next day, the connecting flight will not happen.
Right.
So he said, okay, give me a minute, I'll get back to you. I said, great. Some 15-20 minutes later, he calls me and said, will you land into Bhubaneswar around 11:30? I said, yeah, why not? But then from Bhubaneswar, if you even take a train or a car, it was going to take us hours. He said, we have decided to take you on a private jet.
Wow.
and I know my phone slipped and I picked it up. I said, what did you say? He said, private jet. Okay. So there was these famous Hulia brothers. They owned a private jet. So this was one of the greatest experience I had in my tabling career. So I landed in the Bhubaneswar airport by Air India, and I was received at the tarmac by the tablers, and we had the meeting of the two Bhubaneswar clubs in the tarmac. Then we took a private jet with a 6-seater private jet, landed into the Roorkela. It was just a Roorkela airport those days was just one strip of airfield and nothing.
Not a commercial airport.
Not commercial airport at all. And we had a whole lot of tablers with their cars receiving me.
Wow.
And then we finished the inauguration that night. Next day morning, we took the flight back into Bhubaneswar, and again a joint meeting of the tables. Then took off on those days we had this Jet Airways flight back into Chennai. So at the at the tarmac, we received all the state honors sort of stuff.
Wow.
And the air hostess asked me who I was. Was I some sort of politician? Was I a minister? Because this is how it is. Because they brought me in one Lal Bati van into the tarmac, and all my boarding pass, everything was taken in advance. So this was one of the biggest experiences. The second big experience was, I was taking a train from Chennai to this town called Elluru in Andhra Pradesh. So in that, we were all in the first class compartment. So in that compartment, there were a couple of IAS officers and one minister. So four of us were in the compartment. The IAS officers was just pulling the minister's legs, telling him that, for you have a fan standing, you have cutouts, blah, blah, blah. And, we do our job. So they asked me who I was. I said, I'm a businessman. I'm President Roundtable India. They asked me about Roundtable, and I explained. So when the train taxied into the Elluru railway station, there were huge cutouts of me. And the minister looked at me and said, you told me you were some businessman. I said, I am. So there are a lot of instances, you really, these are treasures, which memory, these are things which possibly would have never happened to you, but for this wonderful tricolor jewel, which I know.
This can happen only in tabling.
Tabling, yeah.
And I think that reflects the love for tabling from tablers, because many of them wouldn't have seen Shiv.
Yes.
But they saw someone who's leading the movement. That respect was 100%. For the love of the movement.
100%.
And I recall one of the projects for 15, somewhere in Andhra, I'm not able to remember, when I went for a school inauguration, all the kids were wearing masks with my face on
Wow.
it. It was so embarrassing, but the thing is the extent to which tablers go.
Yes.
I think that makes this so unique as
seriously.
an organization.
And I'm telling you, I treasure that 365 days as president. You know, this will go down in my memory. You know, this is something which I don't think, you would ever get that exposure, especially at that age.
Right.
We were below 40, and to get that exposure, something.
There's no power there.
Yes.
There is no bureaucracy there. There are no paid followers.
Yes, exactly.
It's just love.
Yes, seriously. And tabling is a very unique movement where your family gets involved. So, Meena, my wife, actually she was from Calcutta. So she had no friends in Chennai, and I got married on October of 1995, and December I became prospect of 42, and we joined in a few months later. So what happens was tabling has been so close to my family. My children know about tabling and so on and so forth. I'll tell you a simple example. When I was prospect of 42, normally what happens is your business meetings, you have to be there. You can't bring your wife. So I had this unique thing. The first meeting which I was prospect was a fellowship meeting. Okay. So Meena and I had walked into that meeting and found a whole lot of great people. The second meeting was a business meeting. Okay.
Right.
And I wasn't informed, and I brought Meena along. That evening, but you should give to the tablers. They really made her feel at home. And then that's the reason why, we joined tabling. And I always say tabling is such a wonderful family movement, because especially, when I traveled across South India as president, I would, uniquely, my area chairman, my national conveners would say, I would want Meena there. And that was, it's really very nice. And Meena also had a whole lot of connect with people across the length and breadth of the country, that, she would say, okay, this tabling center I'll come, and that tabling I'll come. So that's how it was.
So it was, it was a whole family experience.
Yes.
Rather than just for the tablers.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Also brings me to the question, when you travel extending new tables, extension as a facet, I want some thoughts, because Roundtable has expanded over the years. Tabling centers have expanded. Number of tablers, I think today we are more than 4,000 tablers. How important it is to extend to centers and the tables, as well as within the tables, extension as a facet, how important it is, and how much should we focus on it?
So, I'm a little conservative on this aspect of extension. I definitely feel extension is most important, because any organization have to grow. But then I feel and believe that we need to have quality more than quantity. This is my firm belief. Me wrong. But then I'll tell you something. So, I'll give you an example of Mumbai. Okay. When I took over the mantle of National President Roundtable India, Mumbai had not had a table in 25 years or 30 years or so. So, my whole, question to the tablers of Mumbai, Pune and others is, why can't Mumbai have another table?
Yes.
And Pune was growing fast, and Mumbai was still stuck. So, I appointed a guy called Jasprit Singh Kohli from Pune, which was really not accepted by the Mumbai tables, because, I thought the Mumbai tables had a sort of a wall, which they felt that Mumbai cannot have more than these 5 tables.
Right.
So, I thought out of the box and got this guy, Jasprit Singh Kohli, and then we inaugurated the table and chartered the table when I was president.
Right.
So what happens is, but then looking at the whole aspects of, I have inaugurated and chartered from Rourkela to Jaipur to Chennai to the various cities. Extension is very important, but I feel and believe very, very clearly that if you don't have quality, you should not extend, because the ethos of tabling.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, because I was a tabler for 15 years, and the ethos of tabling would go for a 6 if you want to just extend for the sake of extension, because the rules, the regulations, the the full aspect of tabling.
The DNA of tabling, it needs, it's sacrosanct.
Sacrosanct, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm the recipient of that DNA, because if you look at today, I'm far more confident in life. Thanks to tabling. I would say, like, my year as chairman of 42 was far more important, because to deal with 25 opinionated people, who's who of the city and the world,
Right.
and to lead them
Right.
is far more important.
Yeah.
Okay, as President Roundtable India, you're celebrated and things like that.
Yeah.
But then the chairmanship of 42 really gave me insights into managing people and understanding how, because what happening is, I run a big company. And when people report to you, obviously they, when you have, being the chairman of the company, and you could deal with them in some way. But then, when as a chairman of 42, dealing with like-minded people was the most important aspect.
I think that's a very interesting insight, because in organizations we have something called authority.
Yes.
So responsibility comes with authority. And in tabling, you have responsibility, actually no authority, but you still got to get things done. And if we crack that, I think we can crack a lot of things in life.
So it's a big learning, because it was a learning curve. Normally what happens is, the most intense part of your tabling career will be possibly your chairmanship of your table. And tables like mine, 42, has a whole lot of history, and and also people who not only matter in the society, but obviously they're very opinionated.
Right.
And you just can't push your opinions down to their throat and say that take it or leave it, because that's not tabling. So tabling is, I always tell people, like, the whole aspect of leadership is never to lead and get people to follow you, or be behind and let people take over from you, but be along with people, walk with them. So 42 taught me that. And I feel and believe it really has made a big difference in the way I've thought of life itself. Dealing with family, dealing with my peers, dealing with the people in my company. I think that really gave me a lot of exposure. I would definitely say that tabling is the biggest MBA degree, which I got, because this learning you never get anywhere.
This is a great testimony coming from someone who's so accomplished, and who's also donned many leadership roles outside Roundtable as well, as Consulate General of Armenia, and many other roles that in the public life you're able to find the roots of it from tabling.
Yes, of course. And I definitely feel and believe that I always say my success is my parents' blessings and my mother's prayers. But I also say my success is that 15 years as the floor tabler of Roundtable India. And that has really given me a lot of, ethos of how I should run my life. I remember a lot of things, like, those days, we used to fight in a business meeting for 100, 200, 500 rupees. But after that, go into a bar and possibly, blow up the whole thing. So the accountability, tabling taught me what accountability is. Like, when it comes to public money, when it comes to a money which is not given by you, but by the floor of Roundtable India, how you should spend it with so much, how accountable it should be. But when it comes to your own, so that's something which I really understood and learned from
that
tabling.
Demarcation, that line of accountability.
And, so there are times when I still remember when Manoj and I was president, I was national secretary treasurer, I put on my jewel as the NST, gone into my table 42's seat and asked a question on Manoj and I's budget, which obviously I signed the checks. So, but these are the things which only tabling can give you. I have been part of the other movements. That flexibility, that leadership, that it is never possible in any other movement. And also, if you understand one thing, what tabling taught me is looking at differentiating issues with individuals.
Beautiful.
So, we would sit in a table meeting or a national board meeting and argue on issues. But after that, we would sit over and have a drink and as if nothing happened, because we are not discussing individuals. We are not having a fight with individuals. We are having a fight on an issue, because I feel very strongly on something,
Yes.
and
That's your opinion on that issue.
on that issue. It is not against the president or the chair or anything else. It is more the opinion on the issue. This is what tabling has taught me, and I always tell this to everybody.
Yeah.
From in my company, I tell this to my children. I tell this to everybody.
Right.
Learn to differentiate issues with persons, because if you don't differentiate,
Yeah.
then you
It's
are
a mess.
yes, a mess.
Right? Because I've personally seen that happening where it spills over into interpersonal relationship.
Exactly.
When it shouldn't, because these are just divergent views on
Yes.
issues.
Yes.
And when you're out of that forum, you connect on friendship, and it's easier said than done because it's a thin rope to walk on.
Exactly.
Because sometimes when people are strongly opinionated,
Exactly.
and when friends don't support each other on the issue,
Yeah.
they take it personally.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. We've gone through a lot of these things, but then I try my best. Of course, it's better said than done. I agree with you. I try my best to differentiate issues with persons.
Yeah.
Okay, sometimes there is a thin line. So you're emotional, you're a human, so you also tend to when somebody rubs you, you tend to get affected.
Right.
But then overall, my whole jargon or my belief was to differentiate, and I think it really helps me in my my personal life, and also my my company too.
Right. I think it's a very powerful message
Yeah.
for our generation of tablers who are now there. I wouldn't say our generation, for everybody in the future, because I think that drawing that line that and this is an issue-based debate.
Yeah.
And keep that aside from interpersonal relationship is so important, to be objective at the same time, not let that impact friendship,
100%.
which is the bedrock of
of
our
tabling.
association and
Exactly.
our relationship. So one challenging issue I have, and I'll put that question
Sure.
to you. See, with time passing, I wonder whether we will be seen as a gender specific organization. Because tabling is still about men
Yeah.
who can become members.
Yeah.
And with a generation like Gen Z or Gen Alpha, the way I see the kids, they always question why only men, why only women. They're very gender neutral. And I'm concerned, even though the intention of this organization was not to differentiate genders, but the way we are structured is that only a male member
be.
is part of the
Yeah.
organization. Will this impact extension 5 years, 10 years down the line? Like in the US, for example, I always wondered the reason. You would know better. Why it didn't catch up is because they were always forward thinking,
Yes.
and they were there 10, 20 years before we got to a certain level of thinking in terms of very progressive, gender neutral
Exactly.
thinking. So I'm wondering, that's my concern, is whether Gen Zs will appreciate coming into an organization, and if so, how do we hack this?
So I'll tell you, give you a little brief. So when I was the Roundtable International Treasurer and Asia Pacific Region Chairman, so with that sort of responsibility, I did a lot of visits to a lot of AGMs in Europe. So there was a lot of concerns at that point of time. So that's the way they brought the side by side. They brought the lady circle, round table, the Tangerine, the 41ers, all put together in one sort of a platform. I agree with you when with the advent of the Gen Zs, because my younger one is a Gen Z, so I can see a difference. My elder one is 29 and my younger one is 22. I can see a difference in the way my elder one behaves, or responds in aspects like this, where you can reason it out to him.
Yeah.
Whereas a youngster at 21, 22, they have the Google for them to give them advice.
All the answers.
All the answers. So I agree. This is it's a catch-22 situation. So you bite that bullet, it opens up
What happens to a movement like Ladies Circle?
Ladies Circle.
Yes, yeah.
So that's a big $1 billion question.
Yeah.
But then being part of organizations like Rotary, where I see a lot of women, I feel and believe the whole aspect of roundtable. It's my firm belief that roundtable should continue the way it is. I agree there would be challenges, but the roundtable would continue the way it is, as a men's organization, go side by side with the lady circle being the woman organization. Is my firm belief.
Right.
But then we don't know, like,
It's for the leaders of
leaders of
tomorrow
the future
to review
decide.
it
Yeah,
and see
so
how it
yeah,
works.
because
Yeah.
there was, I mean, when I was around, like, there was a huge pressure, because that's a few years when RTBI, increased the age from 40 to 45. There was huge pressure on Roundtable India to make it 45, but then we didn't, agree to it, even 1%. And the floor of Roundtable India is very, very clear, and I'm very happy the floor of Roundtable India continues to be the same.
Right.
So I feel the ethos of what we started continues here, and I really hope and believe that it will continue the way it is.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, when you talk about age, again, as much as we all like to stick on,
Yeah.
but we love the movement more than our individual association, that we
Exactly.
say, no,
Yeah.
I will go because the beauty of the movement cannot be
Yeah.
compromised for my personal interest.
And same here.
Yeah.
So I believe in this aspect of bury the dead.
Right.
So, like, I retired in 2010, and you become honorary tabler of your table for a couple of years. So I decided that I will not go into a business meeting of the table. I'll only go into fellowship, because
Right.
you've seen it, walk through a whole lot of things. You obviously, when you are president and things like that, you've done a lot of things. Good, bad, ugly.
You've seen a
you've
lot.
seen it all. So if you go down there and you see something happening, you would obviously give your opinions. You cannot sit.
It's your natural
A
urge.
natural thing. So I decided not to go into. So I have not gone into a business meeting of 42 after 2010.
Wow.
So in 2013, what had happened was, like, suddenly a few friends of mine in 42 decided, they were youngsters, they suddenly decided, they became chairman, and they decided that, and when they were young, we had a lot of, opinions for and against. And since they had a lot of opinions against my point of view, they said that they're going to be a give back time, and they said that they made me the national honorary tabler. I felt and believe that a DSA or a national honorary tabler should never be given to a past president, because we are there giving the the responsibility, or the honor, and you cannot receive it.
Right.
It's like the president of India getting the Bharat Ratna herself. So
Right.
it's not be there. So that year
Yeah.
was the last year I went to a national AGM. I didn't want to go as a national honorary tabler.
Right.
So I feel and believe that if you do not believe in this concept of bury the dead,
Right.
you're doing injustice to the movement.
Yeah.
Because obviously, okay, they would make their mistakes.
Yeah,
Youngsters will
yeah,
make their mistakes.
yeah.
They would, find a way out,
yeah,
because they are,
Yeah.
empowered, and
Right.
they have
I think that's the intention as well when the movement was founded.
founded, yes.
From Louis
Yes,
Marchesi
Marchesi,
time,
yes,
that you
exactly.
need to have that space
For the
to
youngsters.
experiment, try,
Yes,
fail,
exactly.
still
And
succeed.
this is what I tell the youngsters also, like, suppose you make I believe in this concept called street smart. Okay. What is street smart is, when I went back to my 25th reunion of my school, I found that the first 5 ranks in my school never made it in life. Okay, and backbenchers like me, who was always above the 10th rank, thanks. Thanks to my parents' blessings and my mother's prayers, we made it in life.
Yeah.
So what I realize is, it is not necessary to have your bookish knowledge. It is more necessary to to have some sort of exposure, because when there are challenges, you need to look at how you will be able to salvage a situation, and that is only possible when you are exposed to great leadership. So I feel and believe, that's why I also told you before, I feel and believe that Roundtable is my alma mater. So I did my MBA, but then I would feel and believe that what Roundtable taught me, and the exposure we got, because you're dealing with youngsters 40 and below, who are who's who of the society.
Right.
Each one having an ego, each one having an opinion, and bigger than each other.
Yes.
So when you're able to deal with them, and you're the leader for these people, I think your day is made. And I'm telling you,
Wonderful.
every decision I make today, I relate it back to certain decisions I did during my tabling career, and really, thanks, touch wood, it works very nicely.
Beautiful message, Shiv. I'm so glad we had this opportunity to hear you out. I think for a new a prospective tabler to know why he should join tabling and not miss a lifetime opportunity, all he has to do is listen to your message. And for an existing tabler to take on leadership positions, especially a table chairman, more than a national president,
Exactly.
what it does to you, the impact it has on the rest of your life, in your career and in family. I think you are a living testimony.
Thank you.
Thanks for this message.
Thank you.
Thanks for being part of this podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Continue to inspire
Yeah,
more
beautiful.
generations
Thank you.
to come.
And you're looking younger, so I think something of like you should rub off on me. So
It's again
wonderful.
tabling. Feel young.
Wonderful. So I in this podcast, I like to thank Vishnu for personally inviting us. A couple of our past presidents we met in the lobby, and we realized that what is happening in tabling. Okay, COB comes and goes, but we sometimes even do not know when the COB is there. We got such a wonderful personalized invitation,
Yes.
calls from the Coimbatore tablers and circulars also, and they really took care of us. So I like to through this podcast like to communicate to the tablers of Coimbatore. I'm really happy. Coimbatore has always been the citadel of fellowship, friendship, and I think it continues to be there.
Continues to be
And
there.
congratulations and all the best to Vishnu on his year with that wonderful tricolor jewel.
Thank you, Shiv. I think we couldn't have got a better start for the year ahead. And thanks for recognizing not only the incoming president, but the host and everybody here for
Sure.
giving all of us this opportunity.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiv.
Sure. Pleasure.